Yo guys, what is up? Moxie here with our Monster Hunter Wilds video, and today we're taking a look at what is the strongest weapon or the fastest killing weapon in Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, I thought this would be a fun little idea for a video because one of the most asked questions I get on stream is, hey, like, how does the gun lance stack up to the bow? Or which would you think is better, the bow or the dual blades? Or a lot of questions like that. And people are kind of looking for, like, what weapons to really invest their time and currency into. And so I wanted to take a look specifically today at speedrunners. Now, it's really hard to compare the weapons on balanced terms unless we're looking at a controlled environment where the same weapons are fighting the same monster. And then we can look at speedrunners. And speedrunners are some of the best players in the game. They're doing things incredibly efficient, using the weapons to the best of their ability. And now that the game has been out a few days, we've gotten some incredible runs on Tempered Arcveld. That is going to be the control for this video, is specifically Tempered Arcveld runs. Anything that isn't a Tempered Arcveld run is not going to be considered for this video. And we don't have like full speed runs on every single weapon, but I thought this would be kind of cool as like a rolling update. As more posts and more times are added, I will like update our like spreadsheet and update our graphs for which weapons are performing the best. Now, before we dive into the video, I do want to say that the weapons are pretty close and pretty competitive, besides a few outliers. So really, like, whatever weapon you feel most comfortable on is the weapon that you're probably going to do the best on, even if one weapon is slightly better than the other. But for the purpose of this video, let's take a look at what are the strongest weapons in Monster Hunter Wilds. So let's start with our first weapon. Well, we kind of can mention two. I don't have any times for Hunting Horn. I haven't been able to find a single person speedrunning on Hunting Horn. So I'm imagining it's not great for it. But Hunting Horn, I did not have any data on. However, our slowest weapon right now for Tempered Arcveld specifically is Hammer. With the fastest time that I could find at 3 minutes and 59 seconds. Hammer's a bit of disadvantage in this game in that it has, you know, big damage and it has tons of KO that you can do to monsters. However, unlike, you know, its counterpart in the Greatsword, it doesn't have perfect guard, and it is a little bit tougher to close the distance to monsters. Yes, you do have a dash, but I do think that it just is like lacking in, well, like a lot of the weapons now in the game have counters and have iframes and have these moves that allow them to stay close to monsters and play super aggressive, and Hammer's missing that. And so I think it's a lot tougher to get these like super clean runs on Hammer right now. Our next weapon is the bow for Arcveld with the fastest time that I could find of 3:27. Note that there is a post on YouTube of a bow doing Tempered Arcveld in sub 2 minutes, but I watched the footage and it's clearly modded. They have their damage numbers turned off and they only shoot Arcveld like a few times. The rest of the time they're getting smacked around and die, basically. So it was very unlegit. The only legit run that I could find on bow was 3:27 using an Artian ice bow, which I thought was really interesting with Pierce. And bow does have a bit of a disadvantage on Arcveld, mainly being that if we go into the game and look at his like weak point and break points and like affinities for different elements, you can see that he doesn't take elemental damage in his chain blades, which is like a big part of his body that you'd be hitting at, like just inadvertently, honestly, on bow. And so him just not being able to take elemental damage on those parts definitely does hurt bow. So I wouldn't worry too much about bow's like times on this. But I, as someone who has used bow on Tempered Arcveld versus like using some these other weapons on the list, bow definitely does feel like a bit of a slower weapon in my experience. Not that bow can't post crazy times. 3:27 for Tempered Arcveld is crazy, but it is one of our slower times across all of the weapons. Our next weapon up is the Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield has seen some massive buffs from previous games, and even on launch from the beta, they did some improvements to Sword and Shield, some quality of life changes, and Sword and Shield is actually sitting in a pretty good spot right now. 306 is incredibly... Next up, we've got Sword and Shield coming in with a whopping 306 speed kill on Tempered Arcveld. I believe this speedrunner was using a blast version of Sword and Shield, And Sword and Shield has seen some pretty big improvements, not only in Wilds, but also from the beta. They gave it some new quality of life changes and also have improved some of its combos. And like it just hits very fast. It kind of just Sword and Shield just kind of does everything. It's kind of like one of those all the weapons in one type combos where you've got your like aerial movements like the glaive, you've got blocking and parrying, you've got fast attacks like dual blades, and if you're looking for a very versatile weapon, these are definitely a good choice, and this speedrun just proves that they're really not lacking in damage either. Our next weapon up is Longsword. I'm actually shocked that Longsword is this kind of like far down, as Longsword has always been an absolute powerhouse, and it seems like in Wild is one of its strongest versions. And there's a new playstyle on Longsword as well, with the new Crimson Slash move that allows you to just wail on monsters while you're in your red spirit gauge. And Longsword did have a bit of balance changes when Wilds launched from its like beta version where it was absolutely ridiculous, and Longsword is still like one of the most popular weapons, and it's doing tons and tons of damage. But I gotta say, I am surprised to see it this low on the list in terms of speed kills, as anytime that I've pulled out Longsword, it feels like an absolute monster to use, especially if you're using like paralysis, where enemies just can't do anything with it. I've been having a ton of fun on my little Longsword build that I've been working on, but yeah, Longsword coming in at just shy of 3 minutes. Just a few seconds faster than Longsword at 2:54, we have Ardean Dragon Dual Blades. Dual Blades have also seen a bunch of improvements to Wilds and has one of the coolest, if not the coolest, focused attack in the whole game right now, doing that like spine spin move that you can do. But Dual Blades are incredibly powerful at just whipping out a ton of elemental and status damage. And the new like demon mode or like arc demon mode that you can do on them allows you to do some really sick combos and stay super agile. And the new dodge move on them allows you to play super aggressive without having to like, hide. You can just dodge through any attacks. They're basically the like melee version of bow right now. And it looks like they're putting out a bit more damage than bow, which is cool to see. Our next weapon up, and this one honestly shocked me, is the Lance, beating out Dual Blades by just 2 seconds. However, Lance is looking crazy right now. When I saw that the person had posted a like sub 3 minute tempered Arcveld kill on Lance, I figured that they would be doing some crazy shenanigans, but they're just kind of doing this like poking combo that is just hitting so hard. If you look at any of the damage numbers that they're hitting on Arcveld, a lot of their pokes are hitting for like close to, if not over 100 damage, and they're doing them super, super rapidly. I did not realize that Lance had this kind of damage output on it. And the runner in this video is using a tempered, Arcveld Lance. So it looks like it would be relatively easy to craft. And honestly, like Lance is one of the safer weapons. It's super parry focused. But the fact that it's able to be so defensive and so safe and put out this damage makes it a very intriguing choice. All of those hits are like over 100 damage, which is just crazy. But Lance was buffed on launch. It was like a little bit weaker in the beta, but it looks like the buffs that they did on launch definitely paid off, as it's now putting up some of the fastest speedrun times in the game. Our next kill is Light Bowgun, which was really excited to see this because I haven't seen much like Light Bowgun gameplay, and it looks like they're able to just sprint around at like full speed, firing out pure shots. I was kind of intrigued to see that like Light Bowgun had such a faster time than bow. Honestly, I thought I was going to be able to find some, but I cannot find any speedruns on Heavy Bowgun, even though Heavy Bowgun is doing tons of speedruns on other like monsters. I've seen like Gravios kills done by Heavy Bowgun in under 30 seconds. And so Heavy Bowgun is definitely doing some crazy things, but I have yet to see one of Tempered Arcveld with the Heavy Bowgun. And this runner did get a good time. They are one of the few in this video that did take advantage of like environmental effects to do some damage. So honestly, it might be a little bit slower. Take it for a grain of salt. But this is the fastest Light Bowgun setup that I saw. They are just blasting pure shots constantly while being able to stay on the move. And they put up a really, really spicy time. But I do want to point out, like, for example, our fastest time on this whole list didn't use any environmental damage. In this kill, it looks like they used 3 rocks, all to deal like 3,000 damage total. So just something to take into account. I didn't find any light bowgun runs that were anywhere near this fast that weren't using environmental damage. So I just wanted to show this one off to y'all. But that is our light bowgun. Next up is one of the coolest runs on this list, and that is Greatsword, coming in at 243 using the Ardian Sleep Greatsword. If you did not know, the Greatsword has one of the highest damage attacks in the entire game, True Charge Slash, and if you hit it on an enemy, or if you just hit an enemy that is sleeping, you deal double damage. And so when you pair that with a greatsword that anytime that it's hitting enemies is going to build up sleep on them, you get multiple of your strongest attacks in the game hitting for double damage. Greatsword is, a little bit of a tougher weapon traditionally to pull off, but with the additions of Perfect Guard and the ability to aim, I found Greatsword to be easier to use than ever. This speedrunner just hit a 1,200 damage, which is just disgusting. They were putting up some crazy, crazy numbers on this Greatsword. Definitely one of the runs that you should check out. The sleep ability for Greatsword, when you pair it with, just leads to some easier hunts, and then you could also put sleep on your Palico to make sure that you're getting multiple sleeps a fight to guarantee yourself just huge damage on monsters. And that is our Greatsword run. Now, this is a bit of a tough one. I didn't realize this until recording later, that my switch axe that I had found, a speedrun, was on non-tempered Arcveld. So this is a Arcveld speedrun. I did look it up, and tempered monsters typically have 20% more HP. And so I took the time of the switch axe and gave it a 20% multiplier, 20% penalty. So this would be coming in at around 2 minutes and 40 seconds, even though the non-tempered was 2 minutes and 16 seconds. If anyone finds a tempered Arcveld switch axe kill, I'd love to see it. Not super fair, honestly, that I did that, but I wanted to include some footage and show you guys the build that I saw doing the fastest switch axe kill. Switch axe is such a freaking awesome weapon. The new counter that they've added to it so that you can play super aggressive. Switch axe in previous games was incredibly aggressive, but really had no defense. Now you have this perfect guard slash counter that you can do with switch axe to stay super aggressive, and its new kind of finishing combo looks so cool, putting out some massive damage while staying really aggressive. Switch axe looks like a weapon that I need to learn. I wasn't all that interested into it prior, but now that it's got these offset attacks and so many other ways to play with it, it definitely looks like an interesting weapon, and the visual effects on it are sick. This hunter was putting up some crazy numbers whenever they were doing their charge attacks. And once again, like all the other speedruns, I'll have a link in the description so you guys can check out all the builds for this video. So the Greatsword was 2 minutes and 43 seconds, and all of the weapons behind it were, a few seconds shorter. We are now taking quite a sizable jump. About 20 seconds faster is Gunlance. Now, Gunlance is so good in this game. It is my personal favorite weapon, and it is putting up some of the craziest times. The new full burst combo that they gave Gunlance allows it to deal some of the highest damage bursts in the game while also using your shield to just block anything. It's perfect guard burst combo where you guard and then throw down your Gunlance and then do your burst. Deals 300 damage basically for free, and you can constantly do it, and then it feels really safe. And then when you do have an opening, you can do the full burst combo. Not to mention you've got the Wyvern Blast that's hitting for over 1,000 damage every time you do it. Gunlance is so powerful. The only thing that holds back Gunlance a bit is its mobility, and I personally like using Evade Extender to allow yourself to be a little bit more mobile on the weapon. But if you haven't given Gunlance a try, it's a revelation, honestly. It's so powerful, so fun, and so explosive. And its combos are honestly pretty easy to do. So yeah, Gunlance coming in at one of our fastest speed runs at around like 2 minutes and 24 seconds. Now we get to the top 2 weapons, and a weapon that I never ever thought would be in the top 2 is the Insect Glaive, putting up a ridiculous 218. The Insect Glaive, I put it on just literally after watching this speedrun. I went and like copied their build and gave it a go and nuked Arkfeld. This new move that they've given that you can see on screen hits for so much damage on Insect Glaive. I'll pause it the next time they do it. But it's doing like thousands of damage every time they're doing their burst. Insect Glaive is a very flashy weapon. It has the option to do the full aerial moves, but grounded Insect Glaive, which is what this player is using, can do some really serious damage. As they're jumping up here, those are 210s, 189, 117, 210, 197. And one thing that you can do is like that like full burst combo that they're doing, you can do once you get all of your like Kinsect buffs. But when you do your focus strike, you can get all of your Kinsect buffs back. And when you do this like move, you can create a bunch of wounds. So you could just kind of constantly keep full buffed and constantly spam this like aerial tornado move. I apologize, I don't know the name of it. I'll just pause it again once they do this attack and go fully up in the air. Let's see if they do it. There it is, 273, 189, 189, 189, 273, 273. It's just crazy damage. And it's what is letting our Insect Glaive get the second fastest speedrun time currently in the game, which is just crazy. Never would have seen that coming. And lastly, the fastest recorded kill that I have been able to find of Tempered Arkfeld, and that is with Charge Blade. They're using an Ardian Charge Blade here, and the absolute devastation that they bring to this Arkfeld to get it down in 2 minutes and 11 seconds is crazy. Charge Blade is one of the most technical weapons in the game, but with the like kind of new playstyle of this Savage Axe where you can hold it down and do like repeated hits, it can do some crazy damage. And this is one of those kills where Arkfeld didn't get to move. This player was doing so much damage and so much damage so quickly that they're basically able to control Arkfeld the entire time. One of the cleanest runs without using any environmental damage, just spamming the like Savage Axe mode in Charge Blade and pairing that with some like flashes so that they could make sure that all of their damage was landing. You can see that like while the hits aren't the most, there's so many little hits and they can just keep them going and going and going. Charge Blade is definitely one of those weapons that like is hard to learn, but it's one of the most satisfying weapons to get good with. It's the weapon that I actually first picked up when I first bought World. That was my first Monster Hunter, and I picked like probably one of the hardest weapons to use, but getting good with Charge Blade is like nothing else. And you know, you're rewarded with also like one of the strongest weapons in the game right now. So Charge Blade is looking really good. This speedrun is probably already about to be over just because of how fast this kill was. As you can see, Arkfeld like hasn't been able to move from this spot. They're just keeping Arkfeld here. It goes up, flash, bring it back down, keep spinning. Just crazy. The amount of damage that they're able to do and sustain the like Savage Axe the entire time. It looks like he's already capturable, and that was the speedrun. Just unbelievable. All right, guys. For those of you that like seeing it kind of all laid out and on a graph, this is a little graph of our times on our weapons with Charge Blade, Insect Glaive, Gun Lance, Switch Axe, Great Sword, Light Bowgun, Lance, Dual Blades, Long Sword, Sword and Shield, Bow, and Hammer, with missing out on Hunting Horn and Heavy Bowgun. Those, unfortunately, I couldn't get into the video because I haven't found any speedruns for it. But honestly, like, you know, even though this is painting a picture of certain weapons being stronger than others, there's a lot of weapons that are in this 2 minute range from 211 to 3 minutes that are all like, you know, kind of pick your poison. It does look like there are some slower options, specifically for Tempered Arkfeld, with Sword and Shield, Bow and Hammer falling a little bit behind. But honestly, like at the end of the day, play the weapon that you enjoy. I just know that there are some people that like this kind of information and want to know this kind of stuff. So that's why I made this video. Guys, that is going to do it. I hope you enjoyed. I will have a link to all of the talented speedrunners and their videos. I'll have this spreadsheet public and open so that you can go and click on these videos and support these creators and drop a like on their videos and see what builds they're using. A lot of them don't have like English versions posted of their builds, so you can try to kind of interpret what they were using. But yeah, guys, that is going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. I will catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.